The following is a GoPowercat.com production.
All right, man. March Madness is here. Big 12 teams are in. Look, the first thing is I hope we don't have a disaster in the Big 12 like the ACC did with Virginia last night. That was absolutely ridiculous. Again, proved that they had no business being in the tournament. Oklahoma, at least Oklahoma, maybe even Kansas State would have put on a much better showing. We're going to dive into a little bit of that and get some betting lines. We got Kelly in Vegas coming in later on in the show. This is the Big 12 Insiders.
Welcome to the Big 12 Insiders, your Big 12 sports show, presented by Synergy Financial Partners. Now let's go to booming North Texas, home of Studio 73. Here's your host, Brien Hanley.
Hey, everybody. This is the Big 12 Insiders. This is your man, Big B, Brien Hanley. We appreciate everybody being here. Thank you. Man, today we're going to talk about a couple of different things. First off, while we're waiting for Kelly in Vegas to get in, she's finishing up on some other shows. She's extremely busy this week, especially with the tournament going on. We'll talk a little bit about Big 12 basketball, what's going on in March Madness, all that good stuff. So we'll get into a lot of that. Send some of your questions over in the comments section. We appreciate that. First things first, as always, everybody still remember to go to the Big 12 Insiders on YouTube and go subscribe. We appreciate everybody's support. The channel has been growing. Our numbers have been going up, and it's all thanks to you guys. So we appreciate it. We're trying to move everything over, trying to get there by football season, to have everything moved over to Big 12 Insiders on YouTube. So we appreciate all the support that everybody has given. And remember to comment, like, subscribe, all that good stuff. So just kind of diving into this, look, the ACC is going to be finished. And what we saw out of the ACC last night with Virginia, that was disgraceful. That was absolutely disgraceful. Look, we know that North Carolina is a very good team. We know Duke is very good. And then after that, it's like Clemson, okay, I guess. I mean, if that's what we're doing, NC State was in, Virginia's in. I mean, I don't know. That was bad. You can't tell me that Oklahoma wouldn't have put up a better fight and a better showing than what Virginia did. You can't tell me that Kansas State or Cincinnati wouldn't have put up a better fight or a better showing than what Virginia did. That was just ridiculous. I mean, there was first of all, there was no reason for Virginia to even be there. That's number one. But number two, those teams were better than they were from a better conference. And just because some other conference didn't want to have their feelings hurt by the Big 12 having 12 teams or 10 teams or 11 teams, whatever you want to say, to me, it's just ridiculous. I mean, the fact of the matter is, Virginia, that was a pathetic showing, and the ACC didn't deserve to have them in. Their bid should have gotten stolen when NC State won the ACC tournament. They should have stolen Virginia's bid, not somebody else's bid. That's just my personal opinion, and I think a lot of people probably feel the exact same way. It was just ridiculous. But the ACC is going to go bye-bye. It's going to go bye-bye. And just looking at it, would Virginia even be a team that the Big 12 would want? Now, granted, maybe the Big 10 is probably going to swoop them up. But from the outside looking in, if we're Big 12 fans, do we want Virginia? Does that bring anything to the table as far as, are they going to strengthen the conference as far as football? No. Is Virginia going to strengthen the conference as far as basketball? I don't think so. Now, I'm not just basing it off of this past pathetic performance. I mean, Virginia has won a national championship here within the last 5 years, but other than that, how many good years have they really had? I mean, they're a good team. It's a good program. I just don't know. Let me know what you guys think in the comments about that. But moving on, Big 12, let's look at the success for the March Madness tournament. What happens with Kansas? That not enough people are talking about Kansas. They weren't even talking about them before the tournament started. Now that we know McCullers is going to be out, what happens with Kansas? Do we still think that they can make a run? I thought they could make a little bit of a run, but without him, I just don't know. I don't know. That was a popular pick, that 4-13 matchup. That was a real popular pick for people to pick Stanford to beat Kansas. Are we still thinking that? I don't know. So I just don't know. It's going to be more difficult. This is one of those Kansas teams that just doesn't have a deep bench. And when they don't have a deep bench, and then you don't shoot it very well from the three-point line, it makes things a little bit more difficult. So I'm not sure how far Kansas can go in this tournament. Now, teams that people aren't even talking about: Texas A&M, or not Texas A&M, TCU, Texas Tech, Baylor for that extent. I think all those teams have a shot. Look, I've been saying for a while that I thought Texas had some of the best talent in the country. I don't trust their coaching. I don't trust their coaching. But Texas has some talent, and they don't have a horrible draw. They really don't. I think Texas might be a team that can actually go and do some damage in this tournament if they put it together. Now, they got to defend, but if they defend, I think Texas has a shot. I think they have a real shot in the upset in this tournament. Texas Tech, kind of the same thing. A lot of people are picking Texas Tech to lose the first game to NC State. They've fallen in love with the darling that won 4 games in 4 days. I don't buy it. I don't buy it at all. I think Texas Tech is a better team than they are. They've been a better team throughout the season, and they're going to prove again that they are a better team. So be wary of that upset. Don't fall in love with the NC State train. Don't fall in love with that. They haven't been a great basketball team all year. They weren't even going to sniff the NCAA tournament had they not won the ACC tournament. They weren't on the bubble. They weren't the last 4 out, the next 4 out. They weren't even thought about making the tournament. So be wary. Texas Tech is a good basketball team, but I think Big 12 fans know that. We know how good they actually are. Moving on to Baylor. Look, I know metrics, you have to be a good defensive team. Baylor's not really a good defensive team, but they shoot the basketball extraordinarily well. They really know how to shoot the basketball. I mean, they're shooting 40% from 3. That can be a dangerous team in the tournament. I like their draw. I think Baylor has an opportunity, too, to make a run. Look, I'm going to be a homer for a second. The Big 12 played – it's not one of those leagues that, okay, everybody beat up on each other. Nobody's really that good. We've seen that for several years when they said that the Big Ten, for instance. How many times did they say, oh, the Big Ten's great. They're going to have all these teams in the tournament, blah, blah, blah. And after the first weekend, they got 1 team left. I don't envision that for the Big 12. I don't envision that at all because of teams like Baylor, because of teams like Texas Tech, and I don't envision them being just a one bid or a one team that's going to be remaining after the first weekend of this tournament. I just don't believe that at all. I like Baylor. I like a Texas Tech. Here's one for you. TCU. TCU has been inconsistent all year long. You just, come on, TCU. We're just like, come on, man. Come on. And they could never really get over the inconsistent train. Although a good basketball team, they were just inconsistent. If TCU can get by, and this is a big if they can get by that first round game, I like TCU to upset Purdue. That's what I like. Here's the reason why. TCU has Purdue's kryptonite. Strong, quick, athletic guards. Purdue can't guard them. They haven't been able to guard them. That's what's killed them in the last 2 years of the tournament against teams that are not nearly as good as what TCU is. A St. Peter's and a Fairleigh Dickinson. They put that big guy, Zach Edey, in a pick and roll, and they couldn't do anything about it. They're going to do the same thing to Purdue. TCU will, if that matchup matriculates. And if it does, I'm just telling you guys, don't be afraid to pencil in TCU over Purdue. Don't be afraid to do it. I'm just telling you right now, that's what happened. And here's the thing. You would think, oh, Purdue will just change. They'll make some adjustments. No, they won't. Matt Painter has consistently refused that. He lost the game to Fairleigh Dickinson because if they would have went to his zone, they would have won. He refused to do it. They got beat. Same thing happened with St. Peter's. Go to a zone. They can't shoot. You'll be able to beat them. He refused to do it. They got beat. He is not going to change. So just keep your eye on that one. Keep your eye on that one. That's one to keep your eye on. But now talking about, the big boys, we got Houston, we got Iowa State. Keep your eye on them. Look, Houston, obviously we know Houston is very good. Iowa State, we know they are very good. What I like is Houston kind of has that national cachet per se. So people know that Houston is very, very good. People don't think that Iowa State is very good. Us in the Big 12, we know how good they are. They think it was just this miracle upset that Iowa State won the game on Saturday, beating Houston in the Big 12 tournament. They think for somehow that was just a miracle how they won the game. I love that for Iowa State. I love that for their fans, that nobody is taking them as serious as what they need to be taken. I got Iowa State in my Final Four. I don't apologize for it. Yes, Brien, that means they're going to beat UConn. Yes. I believe they're the team to beat because they are the type of team that can, first of all, they're not going to be afraid of UConn. They're going to get after you on the defensive end. UConn can struggle with that, and they're going to be physical up front. I mean, it's just that simple. Now, if Houston was in the bracket with UConn, I would have the exact same thing. Houston, I would have them beating UConn. I have the exact same thing. I like Iowa State. I like that matchup. That is a good matchup for Iowa State. Some people are going to, UConn's really good, and they've got an older team, and they're really experienced. All of that is true. Isn't it true about Iowa State too? That's my thing, people. I think we've just got to start looking at some of this stuff and just understand who we are. And when I say we, I mean the Big 12 as a whole. The Big 12 as a whole. I got Iowa State in my Final Four. I think they are the team. They can take it to UConn. I really, really believe that. One last thing before we take a quick break. Texas. And we talked about Texas earlier. I think Texas can really do damage in this tournament, people. I really do. I know they've been inconsistent. I know they don't defend like we want them to defend. And God knows we know their coaching is lacking. Gee, many Christmas. Anybody that gets upset about a horns down, I think we're going to have problems with. But I just think Texas can absolutely do something in this tournament. We're going to see, but we're going to park a quick break here. And on the other side of this break, like I mentioned before, we've got Kelly in Vegas that's going to be coming in. We're going to be talking odds about some of these Big 12 teams and see what's what. So we'll be right back. One word from our sponsor, Synergy Financial Partners.
At Synergy Financial Partners, the mission is to change the way Americans plan for their financial future. Synergy doesn't just offer you a financial plan. At Synergy, the goal is to help you find your best financial future. Learn more at synergyfinancial.com.
Welcome back to the show. Let's head back to the studio.
All right. Welcome back to Big 12 Insiders. Everybody, I want to welcome in Kelly in Vegas. Kelly, thank you for taking the time and joining us today.
Absolutely, man. It has been crazy the last 48 hours. So happy to be able to jump on with you, find some time, talk to one of my favorite K-State fans.
I absolutely appreciate it. I'm sure, like I said, I know you have been swamped. We appreciate you giving us any time that you had today. I promise we won't keep you here too long. Just want to kind of go over a couple things. So first off, a lot of fans immediately, and I'm going to cover this one from our favorite team, the KU Jayhawks.
Oh
How did that
boy.
line change with the loss of McClure? How did that line change for them against Samford?
So we knew obviously Hunter Dickinson, Kevin McCullough were going to be out for the Cincinnati game. And I literally tweeted, I was like, is the rest of the team dead? And one of my buddies texted me, goes, yes, Kelly, you know, this team has no depth. And I started looking a little bit further. I'm like, well, you're absolutely right. They don't. So then
Right.
I text, I'll call him a friend of the program, Michael Vernon. He and I worked together at Bleacher Report. I texted him. I said, hey, is McCullough a go? Well, we're going to see how he does in practice. Hunter's a go. We found out yesterday, no Kevin McCullough. Bill Self said he is just not, it's not there. Whether he's hurt, whether he's getting ready for the draft, it is what it is. I've seen lots of speculation. KU fans not happy.
Right.
He is the Big 12's leading scorer.
Yeah.
And this line came out 9.5 in favor of the Jayhawks, quickly was bet down to 7.5. And then we saw some KU money come in yesterday because they were both at practice. So I think people assumed, all right, this is a quintessential KU game where they're going to go out, they're going to handle business, they're going to win it down the stretch. Now, without their best player, arguably, I guess one could make a case for Hunter Dickinson there. I think it's going to be a tough road here for the Jayhawks. I think most KU fans are just going to be happy to get a win here, let alone getting to the second round and then having to make somehow a run. And I just don't see it with this team.
Right. No, I don't see them making a run. I mean, I had them win in this game, but I had so many people get after me this morning. Hey, B, what's going on with this? What should I change my bracket? That was the main thing. Should I change my bracket and have Samford winning? I'm like, I don't know if KU's going to lose the game. I go, but if you're betting, I go, you may want to pay attention to that line if you've already bet, because that to me, that one is dicey. So dicey at best.
It really is. For me, yesterday when I, thought that both guys were going to be a go, I said, all right, at this point in time, it is KU or pass when it was sitting at 7. And that is what I made the game. I said, okay, I can make a case here for the Jayhawks laying a short number.
Right.
Now that it's back up, this Samford team likes to run.
Yes.
And as long as they don't pull a K-State and turn the ball over, if the threes are falling, KU fans are going to be getting a little tense down the stretch.
Absolutely. So the next is a lot of people are asking, okay, what are the odds as far as Iowa State and Houston? Look, obviously both of them are really, really good basketball teams. But I've kind of tried to tell people, I said, look, I know Houston's really good and I like them, but they've been hit by the injury bug here a little bit. So we're talking about odds making it to the Final Four. Which do you have? Do you still have Houston as a betting favorite? I shouldn't say betting favorite, but more of a favorite to make it to the Final Four than an Iowa State?
So here's kind of how I look at the whole tournament, right? I do one bracket, just one, because I really don't care about the bracket, but it helps me map things out and how I see games progressing, who's going to go where, how many teams in Mountain West, how many games in Mountain West are going to win, Big 12, so forth, all these other fun prop bets that you can take out there. So I do have Houston playing Creighton in the Elite Eight, right? That's how I see that side of the bracket going. Iowa State, man, if you want to argue they're the best 2 seed, which I think they are, kind of got shafted because the number 1 overall seed also got shafted.
Yes.
UConn is playing the SEC champion. They are playing the Big 10 champion, and they're playing the Big 12 champion. That group is really, really hard. So that side of the bracket was really tough for me. I'm going to pull up some of the notes I took on Sunday night. I like to watch the selection show and kind of map things out. I do some Calcuttas as well as some survivor pools. And I literally wrote down WTF is this bracket. It is like insane. So then I'm starting to look at teams and how I think teams are going to match up. And one of the things I like to look at is, what do we remember last? Well, we remember Auburn just absolutely throttling Florida. We remember Iowa State just absolutely throttling Houston. So I think there's going to be a lot of love in the marketplace for those 2 teams in that bracket. Obviously, UConn's the odds-on favorite. Now back to Iowa State versus Houston. I don't think Iowa State's going to make it to the Final Four. I think Houston has a better shot because they have an easier bracket. You mentioned the injury bug. They do have a deeper bench than, say, a KU, but I do have some concerns. I think Iowa just wanted that game more. I took the 5.5, and I was sitting there at the bar watching with my dad, and he goes, you, of all people, didn't take Iowa State money line? And I was like, Well, Dad, I didn't see the game going this way. I didn't see them
Right.
winning the game by 20. I mean, they just beat K-State by 20 and
Right.
absolutely waxed a few other teams along the way.
Yeah.
I like this Iowa State team, but I'm afraid as of right now, they're getting a little too much hype surrounding them for being in such a tough group. So if I had to pick a Big 12 team to come out of there, I'm going with a longer shot. I like BYU here. This is a team that lives and dies by the 3. And we did not see that from them in the Big 12 tournament, but they're going to be my sneaky play. If I think a Big 12 team's coming out of the East bracket, it's not going to be UConn, right? Because I think it's going to be UConn, but I like to divert from that chalky one seed play. Like I'm like the opposite of Shannon Sharp. Shannon Sharp puts out like all the 1 seeds to go to his
Absolutely.
and I'm going, come on, Shannon, live a little. I, on the other hand, am very contrarian. So I have no 1 seeds in my actual bracket. I actually have Creighton beating Houston for the Final Four there. So I went Big 12 there, but BYU. We'll see if the Mormons can make a run here because I know this team has it in them. We've seen them have some really great road wins, particularly in Lawrence. So I know they're a longer shot, but that's who I like coming in instead of an Iowa State or a UConn.
Yeah. Well, it's funny that you said that because that was literally my notes. Is that because I've been saying BYU can make a run and people have been laughing at me, and that was literally in my notes. What do you think is BYU is the best bet as a number 6 seed? I like them because for just what you said, they can get hot, and that's all that it takes in the tournament. Get hot for 4 games. It's not back-to-back. It's not like the conference tournament, and if they can get hot, which we've seen them do, I just think they have a chance. Now, they don't defend, which can be a problem.
Yes, it can. And we saw that versus Texas Tech. That was literally their complete issue there. And the threes weren't falling.
Yeah. Yeah. That's the only issue that I have. If they get into a game where even if the shots, let's just say they're just making shots, not just super hot, they're making shots, is can they stop somebody else? So what do you think of, now I've been screaming on this bandwagon too. Now we don't like Texas because they're leaving the conference. But what
we don't like Texas, but man, Rodney Terry, you get all the talent in the world.
Oh.
You get all the and what do you do with it? I feel like Texas, whether it's football, baseball, basketball, women's softball, I don't care. They get the best of the best.
Yes.
And every year they squander it away. Why? How? I'll never understand it.
Rodney Terry, look, I've been beating on this drum. Rodney Terry is awful. I have no problem saying that. He is awful. First of all, yelling at kids in a handshake line about a horns down. That's number 1. I mean, I will make fun of that man till the end of time for that. That's number 1. But number 2, it's just what you said. How can you not be? They should be so good. But I just think, Kelly, in this time of year, that somehow, some way, they are going to say, you know what? Maybe we've been saving it all for this time, and they can put it together and do something. Because if you look at their bracket, with the talent they have, they can literally make a run. They really, really can. I still like I said, there's a lot not to like about them. But if you just say, okay, maybe the talent rules the day, and if it does, Texas is better than these teams in that bracket.
So let me tell you this. I was on Colorado State last night, and I am getting a lot of grief today on social media because I did a show yesterday called Bet on It, and we go over a lot of what we call trends and angles. Historically, the Mountain West has been so good to bet against in the tournament. Until last year, a little team named San Diego State came and ruined that for us. I think the Mountain West is going to be better this year. I think Colorado State has an actual opportunity to beat Texas in this one, and I'm going to tell you why. I know. And yes, Texas, all the talent in the world, right? This is one of the most experienced teams in college basketball. Yet on the road, they couldn't buy themselves a win besides at Oklahoma, at Cincinnati, and at Texas Tech.
Right.
They even lost some really ugly games at home. Houston obviously was in overtime. Iowa State. Now, K-State hands them an early exit.
Yeah.
In theory, that gives them a week, heal your wounds, get a good game plan together. But here's the problem. They didn't know who they were playing. I mean, they could watch both teams. They didn't know who they were playing until last night. And preparing for Virginia is significantly different than preparing for Colorado State. And I don't know why Virginia got a lot of love last night. Obviously, it's very easy to say after the fact, but that was a nice, easy winner for me with Colorado State. And what I love about this team is they play slow. They play methodical. They are going to get points. It doesn't matter. They are going to push and shove and bully their way to the basket. And I'm not sure Texas can defend that. And that's kind of what's going to happen here. I think that if they can beat Colorado State, they're going to beat them on the glass if they're able to beat them. And they're going to be able to beat them in free throws because Colorado State fouls so much. It's so frustrating. If you have money on this team as a favorite, it's frustrating because you know they're going to make it stupid ticky-tack foul that's going to get called late. I kind of am starting to lean towards Colorado State in this one. And I know exactly what you're saying about this Texas team. There's a real opportunity here. I just don't see them seizing the moment.
And they may not. You are right about that because it comes down to toughness, especially in this tournament. And look, you take your P's and Q's from your coach. And just like I just mentioned, if you got a coach that's mad about a handshake line and a horns down, how tough can you actually be? So that's just me.
Good luck to them in the SEC, man, because the SEC does not care about mean tweets. They don't care about horns down. They don't care about signs. It is the wild, wild west, especially when you go on the road. And these kids just are going to eat them alive if they don't grow a backbone real soon.
Absolutely. And I will love it if, they just get laughed right out of the conference every week. I think it'll be hilarious. But that's
what? That's what Mizzou did forever. That's what A&M did forever outside of Johnny football era. I mean, it's Nebraska. I mean, everybody that left either the early on in the Big 12 or even later on, it's not really bode well for them. I'll give Mizzou football a little asterisk for this season, but look at their basketball team. They did not win a single conference game. So I'm with you. I am here for all the chaos in the SEC.
Absolutely. So one other team, well, I should say two other teams. Texas Tech, a lot of people are jumping on the NC State bandwagon because they got hot. I've pushed back against that. I know a lot of people have put money on NC State, but I've pushed back just for the simple fact that NC State wasn't even thought about being in the tournament until they went on this run. And historically, teams that do that, they get to the tournament and they usually get blown out in that first game. That everything they had was to get in, and then they have absolutely nothing left. I look at this NC State team and I see that. I don't see them being able to be. I like Texas Tech. I think they're a really tough matchup. For anybody, they're a tough team. Any money that's going on Texas Tech, is that smart money?
Oh, I bet it's Sunday night. I always brag whenever I get the best of the number. I got the worst of this one. I played 6 with Tech on Sunday night. Immediately. You've got NC State, who literally just won their Super Bowl against their in-state rival.
Yes.
They just rattled off 5 straight wins, including one over Duke.
Yep.
They have to be gassed.
Yes.
Absolutely gassed. Texas Tech, let me double check one thing that I wanted to see about this team. Texas Tech, this is what I like about them. They are younger, okay? I will say that, and that is sometimes a concern. But where they match up really well here against this NC State team is that they're going to be able to beat them in one department, and that is on the glass. And I think this is where Texas Tech is going to be able to out-rebound this team. They're not as big, right? They're little for basketball players, but it doesn't matter. This team does not make stupid fouls. They don't turn the ball over. They're not frustrating to back from a monetary perspective. All the NC State love in the world, I don't understand it. Can they carry that momentum over? Sure. But Texas Tech's going to have a week off. There are some real attributes. And that's kind of why, back to KU, why I was initially looking at KU over Samford. Not only was the dog getting a ton of love there, but I was like, hey, listen, they had an early exit. Everybody should be, getting in those ice baths, getting those massages, doing some great stuff with shoot around. You now know who your opponent is. That's kind of the one caveat that's nice about not winning your conference. And NC State, man, they gotta have a tough road ahead. I like this Red Raiders team. As I mentioned, I have a bad number here, but this offense is the real deal. And I know that I am not a Big 12 fan, right? We always joke I'm a K-State fan, but the Big 12, by far and away, top to bottom, is the new basketball conference. It's not the Big East. And frankly, I almost felt bad for Oklahoma getting left out. This close. NC State got to steal their bid. This close to feeling bad for Oklahoma. I didn't, but I thought that we should have had 9 teams in the conference from the conference in the tournament. It is what it is. Big East definitely got shafted. They are my second most power rated high, but they're still 2 points behind. I mean, from a metric standpoint, the Big 12 is by far and away better. I'm looking at betting on Big 12 teams early and often throughout this whole tournament.
Well, and that brings me to the last point here before I get you out of here is I was going over this, talking about this earlier in the first part of the show, is that usually a lot of teams, like we see the Big Ten forever, they'll get 9 teams in. After the first weekend, they have 1 left. I don't think that's going to be the case with the Big 12 this year. The Big 12 has earned the reputation of being the best conference, not just because people said they padded the net and all that kind of stuff. No. They are good basketball teams. There's nobody out there with 14 losses like a Michigan State getting into the tournament and stuff.
Because your coach's name is Tom Izzo.
Exactly. We don't have that. This is a legitimate 8 teams, should have been 9. I could have made a case for 10 in the tournament this year. I don't think, Kelly, that this is going to be one of those years where we look up as the best conference in the country after the first weekend. Nope, they really weren't the best conference. They got 1 team left. I don't think that's going to be the Big 12 this year.
No, and in fact, every Big 12 team is a favorite in the first round. It is, and by a large margin. I mean, BYU is now up to 10 in some spots. Iowa State is double digits. Texas is going to be the shortest favorite over Colorado State. And we already spoke about them. This is a really tough top to bottom. Texas Tech, as I mentioned, has come down a little bit from the opener, 4.5 currently. I really think the Big 12 can make a run here. There's a couple of different shops that in Kansas, particularly, I think DraftKings, I think you can bet over 7.5 wins the first round. It is a little juiced. I will say that's a little too steep for my money, but maybe you can find an 8 somewhere that all 8 teams that are in get a win the first round. I think it's a real possibility here that we could have at least 2 teams in the Final Four.
Absolutely. Well, before I get you out of here, Kelly, tell everybody all the good places and good stuff where not only they can find you, but also go and make bets and participate.
Yeah, Kelly in Vegas on basically every single social platform these days. WagerTalk.com have a ton of free content we do over there on the Wager Talk YouTube channel. Kelly and Murray, latest show up. If you're looking for strictly only bets, John Murray, my counterpart, gave out, I think, 11 or 12 sharp bets yesterday on the show. So there's a lot of really great information out there. And good luck, guys. Don't forget, it's a long tournament. You don't have to bet every game.
Absolutely. Well, appreciate you, Kelly, giving us the time. Like I said, I know you're swamped, but anytime that you have, I appreciate it. Thank you. And we will have you back soon.
As always, I can't wait for football season, and I will talk to you guys then.
Absolutely. One last word from Synergy Financial, and then we will be right back to close out the show.
At Synergy Financial Partners, the vision is to build the world's largest consumer financial education and empowerment company. Synergy doesn't just offer you a financial plan. At Synergy, the goal is to help you find your best financial future. Learn more at synergyfinancial.com.
Welcome back to the show. Let's head back to the studio.
All right, welcome back to Big 12 Insiders. Look, guys, I'm just a passionate Big 12 fan. I know I can be hard on some of the teams that are leaving. But that's just how I feel. That's the way that this just happens to work with me. But I'm passionate about the Big 12, and I am dead serious about thinking that we can get at least 2 teams into the Final Four this year. Now, does it mean that that's going to happen? No. Does it mean that needs to happen for us to be considered the best basketball conference? No. But it's not going to be one of these leagues that, again, like we mentioned with Kelly and even before that, this is not going to be one of those leagues where after the first weekend, okay, we're going to have 1 team left and everybody's saying, see, Big 12 wasn't very good after all. I don't see it. Is it a possibility? Yeah, that could happen. But is it going to happen? I don't believe so. But either way, get ready. The tournament is here. I guess it started last night. I don't know. You guys know how I feel about that. The Tuesday and Wednesday play-in games, let's get this thing started tomorrow. Can't wait. Fitz will be back with us. We think tomorrow we're going to talk all basketball tomorrow. It's going to be great. I appreciate everybody being here. Remember, like, comment, subscribe, all that good stuff. And also go to the Big 12 Insiders over on YouTube. Please go subscribe there. Got to get that number up to 1,000 so we can move it all over. We appreciate everybody, and we will be back tomorrow. Hopefully we can do it better.
This has been a GoPowercat.com and Spirit Street production. Please support this show by subscribing to this YouTube channel or follow us on your favorite podcast platform.